Okay, it's recording. All right.
I think when you Google Kinko's, all the results are for FedEx.
Say that one more time.
If you Google Kinko's, all the results are for FedEx. Is FedEx
I think
on
they have
Kinko's?
merged. Yeah, the
Okay.
two companies have merged. So you can now go to most of the FedEx places would also do photocopying. Actually, UPS stores can do a lot of photocopying stuff as well. Because if they don't do that, there'll be very few people actually going into the store. You can arrange a pickup remotely. Okay, let's see. So it is time. It just turned into 10:30. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we'll do today is to talk about the answer or the solution to the exam question. Okay, so if you have done it already and you find it to be easy, just kind of bear with me because I do want to kind of go through the solution. All right, so this is the exam question itself. There's only one because last time there were two and I think it was a little bit too much. So this time is based on the previous homework assignment of Get 'em All, and this time I just want you to draw straight lines between the circles that have been cleared. So the first circle obviously does not really do a single thing because you cannot draw a line from a point to a point. You can do it; it doesn't really do much, okay, visually. So what we do is starting with the second circle that you erased, you start to draw the lines, straight lines between the circles being deleted. But the problem is, I can draw a picture on the whiteboard to illustrate what the problem is. Okay, so let's say you have a painted circle here, you have a painted circle here, you have another painted circle in between. Okay, so let's say this is the scenario. I use the blue pen to indicate how you swipe, okay, or how you drag the icon or the sprite. So let's say you drag the sprite to erase this one first, okay? And then you drag the sprite around the one in the middle to erase the one at the end here. So the new program is going to draw a straight line between these two, which will go through a painted circle. That by itself is not a problem, okay? So you can draw a straight line between these two, okay, with these two circles already erased. The problem is when you drag the sprite to erase the one in the middle now, okay, then it will draw a line between these two. That's fine, but as you erase this circle, it will also erase this entire line or a portion of this line segment here. So you will end up with something like this. Okay, so you will end up with something like this with a new line segment coming from here to here. And I don't want lines to look broken. Is that okay? So the difficulty, something to deal with this, there's really not a whole lot of things you can do about it, except, okay, there are a few ways to do it, but the way that I want you to do it in the exam question is to redraw the balls and the line every single time you erase a painted circle. Okay, so you have to do it in a particular order. So in this case, I give you exactly the order. So the first thing you want to do is to erase the entire canvas. Then you want to repaint all the remaining painted balls. Okay, so don't repaint every single one, just the one that are still in effect. And then after that, you want to redraw the connecting lines. Okay, so that means you have to keep track. Okay, you have to use a list to keep track of the balls that have been erased because the ordering of those balls is important. Okay, you also have to kind of keep track of all the painted balls. The ones that are still remaining at least. So the homework assignment starts with an AIA file that I'm providing, which already has all the basic stuff, and you just have to add this added logic here to get it done. So what I'll do is I'm going to go through exactly the same thing as what you would do in class or in the exam, and start with this one. So we go ahead and go here. Oh, by the way, somebody asked me about a question, so this is a slight detour. I will get back to the exam question in just a little bit. Somebody asked me a question about a video player. One of your classmates, who could not make it today, he was trying to use a video player on a splash screen so that he would be able to show an animation as the splash screen using a video player. Okay. As it turns out, there's no way, quote unquote, no way to autoplay the video. Now it's okay. There's always a button that you can click on in the video component itself to start the playback, but there's no way to actually play back automatically. Then you say, but that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because one of the methods is start. In other words, the component is supposed to be capable of starting the playback itself. But if you go to a button event handler, if you go to the initialize event handler of a screen and say start, it doesn't work. I actually verified it. Okay, and they go like, wow, okay, this is kind of strange, because how else are you going to automatically start the playback of a multimedia file? So I found a solution, okay, and this is kind of interesting in some other way too. The solution is to set up a timer, okay? You set up a timer, a clock, and have a timer to go off within 2 milliseconds, okay? Inconceivable as far as the end user is concerned, but you set up a very slight delay. In the timer event handler, then you call that, you use that block, the start block, and it works, okay? So I think the reason why it doesn't work in the initialized event handler is the video component itself is not set up yet. Okay, so there's a process that it has to go through in order to finish the setup. So when you put the start block inside the initialized event handler, it does not start the playback of the video. But if you give a delay of 2 milliseconds using the timer of a clock, then it actually works just fine. So for anyone who wants to make your splash screen fancy and include a video playback of something, this is something that you might want to kind of take note of, because otherwise you'll be tearing your hair out because you won't be able to actually animate anything in the splash screen automatically. Is that okay? All right. Okay. So getting back to the homework assignment. Okay. So let's go back to. Let me see if I still have one app inventor screen. I don't have any tabs here. Okay, so that's okay. AI2. And we'll use Dr. Tag 2016 fall. Okay. There we go. And we'll go ahead. I think this is the one that I use to make that attachment in the exam question itself. So this one has everything in it already. All right, so we go to the blocks first. Take a look at all the blocks. And how many people ended up using my code as the basis of your homework of this assignment? Okay, cool. All right, so when you look at this code, I changed it a little bit because I kind of took out some stuff, put it into procedures just to make it a little bit easier to read. But there's still one centralized place to do all the detection, okay, which is, let me see, initialize circles, that's another one. I make a square function, which is kind of handy. And I have one pretty big procedure that is difficult to find. All right, where is it? Oh, come on. Not initialize. right, fantastic. I just have to. Okay, we'll.
We're on it.
Sorry?
Yeah, it was the colliding with other circles one.
Yeah. Do you see where I put it?
Bottom right.
Bottom right.
The right of that one.
Yeah, this one. Well, check erase circle is the one that checks first, and then it will also erase if it finds that the sprite is on top of a painted circle. So this one contains the main logic of what we need to do. So before we do anything like drawing lines and stuff like that, the first thing we need to do is to use a list to keep track of the deleted or erased painted balls, because the ordering of that list is important. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is to do something like that, which means we need a global variable. Okay, there are different ways to do it, but I would just use a global variable as a different list. So let me just remember the positioning of this procedure, because we'll have to go find it again. So it's kind of like a mid right hand side. And then I go back to the place where I define all the global variables. Okay, because I just want to keep all the global variables together. So go here, make a new global variable, and then we'll just call this erased circles. Okay. And this is going to be a list. So initially it's just going to be an empty list. If I don't do this, it will show as a warning. It doesn't like values or variables that are not initialized. And then I have a special procedure to do all the initialization. It's not initialized game. It is, sorry, I take it back. It is initialized game. So I'm going to go here and initialize that as well over here. So go to variables, and then we are going to set erased circles to an empty list. There we go. Okay, so the initialization part is now done, and we can go back to that kind of big, huge algorithm. There we go. Not this one. A little bit more. There we go. So we go back to check erase circle, and we say, okay, what if we have a circle getting erased, which is this part here. This conditional statement is basically saying, okay, yes, we do have one item that should be erased at this point. This will give the visual effect of actually erasing that circle, but we don't need this anymore, because we're going to erase the entire canvas and then just repaint all the balls that are supposed to be remaining. So this is, this can go, but we also have to remember which one is now erased. And that part is already done here. Okay, this is marking using the fourth value of the list representing a circle. If it's a 0, it means it is still being displayed or should still be displayed. If it's a 1, it means it is supposed to be erased and should not be displayed anymore. So that part we already have. But we also have to remember to put this item into that special list so that we can now maintain a list of erased circles. We already have a list called last ball removed, so there is a way to combine these two and just be done with that one. Because we have to use this to calculate the distance, so ideally speaking, if I just use this distance, set if we use the coordinate between the circle being erased right now and the location of the last ball being removed, that will give us a line already. But I cannot do it because of this particular problem. Yep.
The assignment that you gave us was slightly different than this. It didn't have. This is the one that calculates the distance.
Right.
The one that you gave us didn't have that.
Oh, that didn't have
a
it?
simpler version of it.
Okay.
So just FYI.
Okay, thank you. With all of this stuff, we can still change it. The modification is not that much. This one only has the extra portion of maintaining the last ball that is erased. So what we'll do here is we are going to add the circle, this one, that has the fourth value getting changed, we'll add it to the list that we just talked about a little bit earlier. So we're going to say set a value, and we'll put it right here, okay? And this is going to be, oh, actually it's not a set value because we can attach something to a list without using set. Okay, so get rid of this, go to the list blocks we are appending to the end, because we have to append to the very end, and which is add items to list. Put here. The list that we're adding to is our global variable, erased circles. And then the item that we are getting is just this item here, which turns out to be a list by itself. Okay, so this way we are now tracking what circles should still be painted on screen, which ones are erased, and in which order have I erased those. Okay. Once we have that, we do not need this anymore. Okay, we don't need to draw a empty circle with the color of the background anymore, because what it will do is we are erasing the entire canvas and just repaint everything. So this one can now go. I'm not going to take it away. I'm just going to disable the block just in case I need it back or need to refer to this. So I'm just disabling the block, and for now I'm going to collapse the block so it doesn't interfere with the rest of this logic here. So for the rest of this logic, what I'm going to do is to call a procedure to update the entire screen. So on this side, I'm going to create a new procedure. Okay, so I'm going to find an empty spot here to create a new procedure that will basically repaint the screen. So I'm going to say repaint screen or canvas. To repaint the entire canvas, we have to first erase the canvas first. So that will be in the canvas. We select the block of clear and say, okay, let's clear everything. All the lines and all the painted circles will now be gone. And then the first thing we need to do is to repaint all the balls that should still be displayed on the screen. I don't think I have a procedure to do it, so we'll go ahead and just use Control to go through everything in the list of the circles and just pick out the ones that still need to be repainted and repaint those. So I think it's under for each. There we go. And the list containing the list of all the circles, not just the ones that are erased, is circles. So for each item, I first have to check whether the item is supposed to be painted or not. And I need to use a conditional statement and say, and check the fourth value of this circle and see whether it's a 0 or a non-zero. So I'm using a math comparison and say, in this case, select from item, because item itself is a list, and then the fourth item of the list indicates the value that I want to check, and I want to see if it is a 0, because if it is a 0, that means I have to paint the ball. Okay. And then the logic to actually repaint the ball can be, I think I have it somewhere else, but I will just go ahead and do it here. So we'll go ahead and set the color of the canvas. We'll set it to the third. I don't think I track the color of the circles. Yep, I don't think I track that. Yep, so the color is not tracked. So I'm just going to manually pick the color, which I think is the apple green, and then paint the circle here. Right, center X, center Y, those are all from the item itself. So I'm going to replicate these blocks a few times. Same with the radius, it is also stored. So we have the first item being the X, second item being the Y, and the third item being the radius. So this is repainting all the balls on the screen. And then after this, we can use another, another loop to go through all the balls that have been erased and then draw lines between them. Okay. But there is one particular trick to the second loop, because for each loop is going through every single item. But when we draw lines between the circles, we don't want to kind of just go through every single item, because we want to go to the item and the one next to it. Okay, because if you have 4 balls erased or 4 painted circles erased, you only draw 3 line segments. So for the next loop, it is better not to use a for each. Instead, use a general purpose while loop, so that you can keep track of the index into the list of things that have been erased. Or at least, because of the way I track the erased balls, this is the best way to do it. Did anyone do it in a different way to keep track of the circles that have been erased and get to the ordering of those circles?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I just kind of like had a list of lines, and each time I just kind of added to the list of lines. I didn't really keep any track of the circles that had been erased, except just remove them from the circle list. Like I had a circle list and a line list, and each time
Okay.
you entered in the circle, it would draw a line from the last circle, add it to the line list.
Okay.
And then each time just draw circles and lines.
Okay, but it has the same kind of information. The radius is not useful anymore, but you still need the center XY information. Yep. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to use a loop to go through to do this. But since I use a loop explicitly, I will need to use a variable to track the index of the loop. So in this case, I need to have a local variable to do that. And how you use a loop is entirely up to you. But when I use a while loop, I usually put it inside a local variable block, because I know I need some kind of index or local variable in order to track which one am I working on at the time. So I initialize index to 1, and then I go back to control and say while loop. And the test is basically looking at index and see if index is still less than the length of the list of erased circles minus 1, okay? Because I need to stop 1 short of the actual end of that list. So I need a comparison. Okay, so we look for a comparison and make sure that it is less than, in this case. So we are looking at the length, no, we are looking at index, and we have to make sure the index is less than the length of the list. So we look at the length of a list, and the list that we are actually talking about is the list of all the erased circles. So now we have the control structure to go through every erased circles except for the last one, which is okay, because in order to draw a line segment, I need to draw the center of one circle to the next one. So the last one should not be in the loop itself. So now I can now go to, did you guys use the same color to paint the ball for the line, or did you pick a slightly different color? Same, different? Okay, I'll pick a different one, just so that it looks better. So we go to canvas, and then we set the paint color. Paint color to something else. And I totally lack color coordination capability, so I'm going to pick magenta. Magenta looks good. This is Fuchsia, by the way. Okay. And by the way, this is also just a little sidetrack here. If you want to look into the actual design aspect of a mobile application, Art New Media is going to offer their app design class again in spring 2017. So you might want to sign up for that class if you want to know, okay, what is the best way to place the positions of the buttons? How do I do color coordination? What font should I use? How big of a font? How small of a font? And stuff like that. So the Art New Media class here would be a good one to complement what you're learning in this class. I focus mostly on the logic of the programming side, as well as the data representation, and also how your program connects to the outside world. Okay, so those are the things that I care about, and those are the things that you learn from this class. But as far as positioning of the buttons, color coordination and stuff like that, that's something you have to learn from Art New Media. Okay, so that's a really good complement to this class. Okay, so I'm picking some really yucky color here. It is a fuchsia color for the lines. And in here, I just have to draw the actual lines. So we go to Canvas, and then we go to the Draw Line. Okay, where is it? Draw Line, there we go. Okay, and then we just have to specify the XY coordinate of those things. It's going to be a pretty long thing to specify because we have to do two selects. Okay, the first select is selecting from the list of erased circles. So we'll duplicate this based on my index. So there we go. And then this will give me a circle. Okay, so out of the circle, I need another select so that I can select the x coordinate in this case, which is a 1. So now I duplicate this entire thing to get to the y coordinate of the first point to draw, and then I copy this again, but this time the index into the erased circles list is going to be index plus 1. So I need to go to math, do a plus 1, and sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. There we go. And then we get to the y, oops, nope, not this. Duplicate. No. What did I just do? Okay, I see. Okay, so 1, 2, 1, 2. And that's index plus 1. So I think I got everything done at this point, except to call it. So at this point, I have this procedure done. It's called repaint canvas. It will repaint all the painted circles that have not been erased, and then will paint all the lines connecting the erased circles in the order that they're getting erased. So I think we are done with this procedure. It's called repaint canvas. And this procedure doesn't do a single thing unless I call that. So I need to call this subroutine from inside the event, not event handler, but inside the other procedure, which is this one here, check erase circle. So every time I quote unquote erase a circle, this is what I need to do. 1, 2, and 3, I can put it over here. So I go to procedures and repaint canvas. I can put it over here. That would be a good place to put it, because I have to make sure I do this after I add the current item to the erased circles, and also after I mark this item as quote unquote erased by making the fourth value of the circle of 1. Okay. Okay, so I think it's done. Let's go back to the command line interface, start up Android Studio. And on the other side, I can start to do a build. Alright, here we go. And let's see. Okay, so I got the emulator started. Now it's time to go to Android SDK platform tools. Check out the ADB server. Connects to the new device. Very good. Upload my application. Okay, let's see. Get them all. It's right here. Okay, what do you think? Do you think I got everything, or do you think I might have missed something? Well, let's check it out. Okay, so we'll erase. Okay, erase. Uh-oh, I forgot one thing. This is my favorite mistake to make in the loop. Okay, I forgot one little thing, and now it's an infinite loop. What do you think it is? How can I turn my loop into an infinite loop?
Terminating condition.
No, the terminating condition is correct.
That means you didn't increment.
Yep, that's my favorite mistake to make in the loop. I forgot to increment the counter. So when you look at the second part, okay, scroll down, scroll. I got the call to this thing. The draw line part is done okay, but you can see the index is not incremented at the end of the loop. Okay, so this turns out to be my favorite mistake to make. When I deal with loops. So it doesn't take long for me to realize what kind of mistake I have made, because it's my usual mistake. Everybody has some usual, favorite mistakes to make. Do you guys know yours? No, I never make mistakes. I'm a perfect coder, right?
Duh. You met me? Duh. Have you met me?
What is your favorite?
I just said I never make mistakes. No. I guess my favorite programming error is, is hopefully one that is caught at compile time. Anything
Yes.
that's caught at compile time, I'm okay with.
If it's a syntax error or type mistakes, yes, the compiler can catch those. Forgetting to increment something, sometimes some compilers can check that too, but not very usually. But the symptom is very easy to fix, because the symptom is just that you have an infinite loop. It just gets stuck, right? So it's fairly easy. It's obvious. Okay. Save file. There we go. Do it one more time. Switch back to the text terminal. Upload. And retest. So get them all. Okay. Yay, drew a line. Okay, so this is how I'm going to test it. I'm going to erase this one, go around to the other one, and then erase in the one in the middle, and it does work just fine, just like that. Excellent. So it's all done. Are there any questions about this one?
If you press new game now, what happens?
Okay, very good. If I press new game, long press or just a regular click?
Just regular.
Ah, because I didn't erase the canvas.
That's what I did too.
Well, it will be erased, after you drag it, because it's going to redraw the stuff.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
I kind of, I do this and I forgot.
Yeah, a long press would. Oh, a long press doesn't do it, because a long press is going to erase
Yeah,
it
it's
first.
already- yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's a fairly easy one to check and deal with too. Okay. Because what you need to do is to go back to the new game.
Talking about my So like details.
Well, that's why you need someone to test the application. So when you actually do it, you have to test the application. So this can be done in Start New Game. In Start New Game or even Initialize Game. This would be a good place to do it because this is done for both cases. So just go here, go to Canvas, clear.
Clear this.
Let me see. Is that a good place to put it? That's a good question because the painting part is done using Start New Game. So this would not be a good place to put the canvas clear. So we actually don't want to put it here. We want to put it in Start New Game. Yep. Which of course means that I need to find it first.
Yeah, those little bitty.
There we go. Yep, Start New Game. Just put it over here. Clear. Do it before because initialize circles would actually paint it. So this will fix the problem. Okay, double check one more time. Take 3, right? Well, for Thanksgiving, I think it would be a good time for people to make potluck apps. Okay.
Like
So-
a baby registry kind of thing, except with who's gonna bring what food.
Who's going to bring what food at what time? And then the host has a way to evaluate, right? Ratings.
Nah.
Yeah. Historically speaking, Uncle Tom would promise to bring rib eye steak, but what he usually brings is not quite rib eye steak.
What either.
But it's a great way to arrange potluck because how do you traditionally how do you arrange a potluck? Let's say you're doing Thanksgiving at your house and you want it to be a potluck, so people are supposed to bring a dish or something. How do you do the coordination? Okay, so first of all, you need to have categories of food, right? You don't need everybody to bring 5 2-liter bottles of soft drink. That's not going to be helpful, right? So you need to divide up and go like, okay, we need categories of food. So we need, soft drink, we need apple cider, we need alcoholic beverages. Okay, somebody has to do the coffee thing. Usually the host can deal with the coffee. You need appetizers, dessert, entree, okay, alternative food, okay, for those, really picky, vegan people, okay. So you have a variety of stuff, okay, but how much? Okay, so let's say, okay, we want to have dessert, okay, apple pie is good, okay, but how much apple pie are we talking about? It depends on how many people are coming. But how do you know ahead of time how many people are coming when people are still doing the RSVP? You don't know ahead of time. So by the time you have to broadcast that message again and go like, okay, we're gonna have 20 people coming over. Sorry? Bring more, but how much more? So sometimes you end up not having enough food, which is not good, and most of the time you end up with too much food, which leads to food waste, which is also a bad thing, because there are people in the world, who do not have anything to eat. So I just feel bad, wasting food. So an app like that can keep everybody up to date, okay? Because whenever somebody RSVP or when somebody says, okay, I have to cancel my RSVP because I cannot make it. So the number of people will change accordingly. And then depending on the diet of people, some people say, okay, I'm not going to have any meat products, so you won't add that count to the ribeye, right? But you will add that count. You will still add that count to drinks and dessert, especially when something is vegetarian. So now tracking all of this stuff here, what food you want to have in a potluck, who's going to bring what is how much is that person bringing. So let's say you need 3 apple pies, okay? And one family said, okay, we'll bring 1, okay? And then 2 other families can say, okay, we can bring 1 as well. So now you have all 3 apple pies. You don't need one family to bring all 3 apple pies. So coordinating all of this stuff means that you can use an app. Because an app, what is the greatest advantage of an app as opposed to doing things manually? Okay, first of all, the mobile aspect of it is really great because the device is with the person, which means it's not like an email, right? The traditional way of doing potluck coordination is either by phone, which is really really old-fashioned, or email. But with email, it gets you get lost very quickly. Okay, because in 1 hour there'll be like 6 messages, right, stacking on top of each other, interleaved and not synchronized.
And you are in the store and message.
And you keep swiping and swiping because because as everybody replies, they reply all, right? And with the original message attached. So now the messages get longer and longer and longer, and you can no longer track who is bringing what and what you're supposed to do for how many people. So an app makes it easier. But it's also real-time communication, okay, close to real-time, okay, because every time somebody says, okay, we can do this, okay, we can handle this, it reflects on your screen automatically. So I can see a great deal of value for a potluck app. Okay,
Because
so
people here always, they do baby showers, they do different
Yeah.
different things.
Yep, exactly. Especially if it is cloud-based, where the data is actually stored online somewhere, and then you can use it. For instance, in our case, if you use Firebase DB for coordination, that's great because it would just ding on every participant's phone and go like, okay, we got one more family coming, but they are going to bring blah blah blah. Okay, so how is it going to impact the list that I'm supposed to deal with? You can just look at your list because the computer can automatically figure out and scale and tell you that, okay, assuming each person is going to consume, okay, let's be healthy here, 1/4 pound of ribeye, which never happens, right? Okay, when you go to what's the name of that place? A steakhouse. Cattleman, that's it. So when you Cattleman, do they let you order 1/4 pound of a steak? The minimum is what?
Like 8 ounces.
8 ounces, half a pound. Yeah, but I think the usual, unit is 1 pound. Okay, at Cattleman. That's like enough meat for an entire village in some countries. But just an idea, okay? This is something that you can do. If you really like to write apps and you think, oh, this is something that we can do, and I can tell you that App Inventor has enough tools to do it. Now, it may not look very professional because we don't have full control over the screen and stuff like that, but functionally speaking, it can be done. Any questions about that? No questions?
Do you know what courses that RP Media?
Yes, let me see if I can look it up. So let's go to ARC schedule. Do they have the schedule of next semester up?
Yeah,
They should be up, right?
Sure. They already have enrollment, 0 already started.
Okay, so let's check out Art New Media. Graphics design, digital painting, photography, character, storyboard, web design, interactive. Okay, maybe it is in the following semester then. So it's going to be in fall
Oh, okay.
2017 then, because I don't see app here.
Yeah, I also have already.
But I can definitely look up their course description.
I wonder if they have any prerequisites to
Oh, I can look that up too. So just hold on a second. Let me look that up.
That's why I need to take something before.
Understood. I will look that up. This is kind of like a secret area that only faculty and staff have access to. But some of the content, I think they really should make it available to students as well. So Art, New Media. Okay, so these are all the Art New Media classes. And it's web design, design for tablets,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so you're looking at Art New Media 406.
No,
406, and the advisory is Art New Media 330, which means it's not a prerequisite. They won't require you to have taken Art New Media 330 first, or 352 or 402, but those are advisories, which means if you have some exposure to those things, it will be beneficial. I think that web design class is just really quote unquote web design. They don't really do a whole lot of actual HTML coding, as far as I know.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Web design, it's actually my problem will take next semester.
Okay.
3.
The design for publication and then the photo imagery.
Not Art New Media though. CISW.
No, they have their own designation. It's ARTNM.
No, I mean the one that with HTML. It's not Art New Media. It's CISW.
Oh, okay. The CISW class focuses more on the actual HTML elements and
Yeah.
how to use those.
Yeah.
And then Art New Media supposedly would focus more on the actual design part. So just knowing how to control the color of the background and the font doesn't mean you can coordinate the color between the background and the foreground.
Exactly.
So Art New Media would focus on the actual coordination part. So this may be a good class for you guys to take or to consider at least. Let's see. They don't really focus a lot on actual application because they focus more on digital document, PDF presentation, EPUB creation and stuff like that, but not particularly like, okay, you have control over your buttons and your components and stuff like that. So this may not be the right class. I thought they had a mobile app design class. So let me just search again. Sorry, Bert. Nope. Because I thought they had a class with mobile in it, either mobile or app.
No, I think this is the only.
This is it, the tablet one.
I might do it in the future.
I'm starting to remember things wrong, because I thought they had one class that had either the Word app, or mobile in it, but no, I couldn't find it here. But photo imagery is fun too, but it's not 100% related to app design. Okay. Well, that's it. All right. Are there any questions about all this stuff? Any questions regarding your project? Okay, how is it doing? Are you guys making good progress? Because at this time we should be pretty much polishing and just finishing up the projects and not really still in the phase of still designing, still trying to get it to work. Yep.
I forgot that I had to turn that in. Can I just do it right now?
Yeah, do it right now.
Yeah, sorry. It's
Okay. Yep. But are there any particular questions, any difficulties that you have encountered with your projects?
I was having a little. I guess I already kind of mentioned this, but I was having a little bit of difficulty with some of the displays, and I kind of had to end up using the canvas to make my own movable lists and stuff. For example, the list view doesn't work with the scrollable container, which really annoyed me. But I guess.
Okay.
Are there ways to? Do you know if there are any ways to just kind of manipulate the design more finely, so to speak? I suppose I wanted it a button just 50 pixels to the right and 200 pixels down. Is it I'm not sure if it was just my inexperience, but I tried doing that, and that seems like a really simple thing to do, but for some reason I wasn't able to find ways to manipulate that.
Well, there is a way to do it. It depends on how you want to place the other components. So, tell me again, what are the coordinates? 50 and 100, right?
200.
200. 50 down, 200 to the right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's check out how to do it.
I feel like we talked about this in the first week or something, but
Yep.
I must have missed it.
Yep. Okay, so I'm creating a new project called Place Components, okay? All right, so let's just say that it is a button that you want to place. So normally when you drag a button into the screen, it's going to be at the upper left corner of the entire screen. Okay, so if you want to position this thing to exactly where you want it, then the first thing you want to include is in the layout, bring in a table arrangement. Okay, so once you have a table arrangement, you want your button to be at the lower right corner. Okay, and then over here with this particular cell, okay, with the upper right hand side cell, just drag in anything you want. Okay, I just use an image right here, and even without specifying the picture itself, you specify the height in number of pixels to be 50, and the number of pixels for the width is 200. Like so, and don't even bother to specify a picture or rotation. Okay, just make sure it is visible, but it doesn't really show anything on screen because it is, there's no image associated with it. So this will do it. Okay, I know it doesn't look like a very clean way of doing things, but it will get it done. So I'm just going to test it just to be sure. But that's basically how you kind of hack, App Inventor to do, kind of placement control of your components. Is that okay?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm trying to follow along. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay. Well, the App Inventor does place a lot of extra restrictions of what you can do and how you can combine things. But by doing so, it is also doing a great job simplifying the way things are done. Because next semester, I don't know how many of you are going to take a cisp363, where we will use Android Studio and we'll be using Java to develop code. And in that class, you will start to understand why App Inventor is such a great little tool. It gives you a lot of restrictions, but at the same time, it also makes it so much easier to write applications. So let me just test this one first, and then we'll get back to that other discussion. So we go here. Placement. Place components. Over here. P. There we go. Yep. So it does give you, the control of where you want to put your, in this case, the button. Okay. Okay, so getting back to Android Studio, okay? I do have Android Studio already started up here, and to write any application that has any type of control, including just a button, you will have to write quite a bit of code, just to get it done.
Yeah.
So by the time we can it will take us in cisp363, it will take us at least 1 or 2 classes just to talk about Android Studio itself, because Android Studio by itself is already fairly complicated, okay? And it would take us at least 2 weeks to know how to put buttons on the screen and program what to do when the buttons are clicked, because there are multiple classes involved in the process, and there are multiple concepts in Java involved at the same time. So how fast we can go in that class depends a lot on how much people already understand about classes, inheritance, and Java programming, syntax-wise in general. The prerequisite of cisp363 is only cisp300, not even 360, and that was intentional. Okay. So it all depends on the composition of the class. If everybody in that class has already taken, let's say, cisp360 or even cisp400, then we can move along pretty quickly. On the other hand, if nobody in that class has taken cisp360, then we're going to move a little bit slower. Is that okay? So, yeah, go ahead.
Are there any computers on campus that have Android Studio on them?
None that I know of. Okay, I can explain why it is not going to happen anytime soon either. Android Studio updates frequently. Okay, the last time I got this updated was probably last week or so. Okay, so let's go check whether there's an update already. And I think it's under tools. Okay, whenever I start it, it will automatically indicate. So let's see. Okay, let me close this first. But it does get updated frequently. We're talking about weekly. Okay, so a new version of a new revision will be updated or available for download and stuff like that. And one thing you might notice about all the computers in the computer labs of this campus is they are
Solid state.
they are frozen. Okay, we use a software called Deep Freeze so that nothing is sticky. Okay, which means they can't really update Android Studio at the same frequency that is needed to keep the tool up to date. And that's why they don't store that. They don't have it installed. Has anyone tried to install Android Studio in the context of using Windows on an external drive? It should be doable. Nobody has tried that? Really? Okay, so since I really don't have anything else to talk about, so I'm going to stop the recorder, okay, because there's no need to record.